Peter's Gourmet Kitchen. And today I'm going to show every one of you how to clean a tenderloin so you can have the greatest fillets ever and the most economical fillets ever. First of all, what we're going to do is we're going to get a nice surface to cut it on. Make sure it's sturdy. Make sure you have something underneath it that's not going to move. I usually use a wet towel and to put it underneath and then put the cutting board on top. If you're using a glass cutting board, that's fine. These will clean great. If you're using a standard cutting board that we usually use in the restaurant, which are colored, make sure you use the red one. That is for raw meat because they are color coded. So let us go ahead and get this drained, and then we will start cleaning the tenderloin. In order to drain it, we take it to our sink. We're going to cut the ends, and we're going to drain the blood. Let's drain the blood out, then you can cut it open and bring out the whole tenderloin. Sometimes they're a little tough getting out, but that's a good sign that it's been cryovac very well. Okay, place your tenderloin on your cutting board. And what we're going to do is what I always do, is I always look for the side strap. And once you can take the side strap off, and then I'm going to show you later on how you deal with that to make some tenderloin tips. You might have to cut a little bit of the fat away to get to the side strap. And we'll pull that off of the piece of meat. So if you can pull it like this, you will pull it right off. Cut it a little bit sometimes you have to, but you're going to take this right off, and then we're going to set this aside. Okay, we're going to set this aside. And then we're going to start trimming our tenderloin. As you can see, there is fat on top and on the bottom. Now some of the fat on the bottom you're going to want to keep there for flavor. But I usually start it by turning it over and start it little by little and start cutting off some of the fat. Now we're going to run into some silver, which you will see this on the other side when I start cleaning it, on the best way to do it without pulling a lot of the meat off of, taking a lot of meat with it. So this is an education. I've done these tenderloins for years. They're actually very simple, and they are, if you know how to clean one, you can save yourself a ton of money. So what I'm doing now is I'm pulling off the fat right now, and I'm going to open this up just a little bit, and you can see this silver. And this silver is tough. This is what you have to get off of the tenderloin. And sometimes I do take off some of this marble if it's too much and too much of an excess. If you turn it over, the tenderloin, there's a piece down here that you have to pull off at the bottom, as you can see, because of the fat there. But you want to pull that off. You might have to cut it a little bit, but you can get it off. And sometimes you can strip some of that meat off of that too. But if you see this little bit of fat here, you want to take that off. And this little bit right here. Okay. Then we turn it back over, and as you can see, there's the silver that I was talking about. And there's some little more excess here we want to take off. We want our tenderloin to look great. We're going to cut fillets out of the tenderloin, and you're going to see how many fillets I get out of this 10 pounds. I think it's right. It was run around 10 pounds, I believe. 8 to 10 pounds. we want to open up and get all of this fat out. And like I said, the last thing we're going to take off the silver skin on it, which makes the fillet really tough. And this is what you have to take off. And then some of these you can pull some of this fat off too as well, just with your hands, or just run the knife underneath it and it comes right off. So in order to get the silver skin off without you pulling a lot of the meat off, you take your knife, you put it underneath the smallest part here of that, and you're going to start to pull it. And see, when I'm pulling it off, you don't see meat coming off of it. This is where a lot of people run into, they cut it off, and a lot of the tenderloin comes with it. And you have to just keep doing it until you can get it all off. And sometimes it takes, you know, a couple times. You have to keep cutting it, just going underneath it with your knife in order to scale it so you can pull it off. This is the best meat from out of the beef family that you're going to want to eat. They grill well. You can do a lot of things with this. I've used these for sliced tenderloins for hors d'oeuvres. I baked the whole tenderloin, sliced it, served it cold, fillets, sliced tenderloin dishes, a lot of different ideas that, you know, you can do with tenderloin. It just doesn't have to be grilled on the grill. But I'm getting it all off. And as you can see, I'm not taking that much of the meat with it at all. Because when you're paying $11 a pound for a piece of meat like this, you're going to want to make sure you don't take a lot of the meat off with it. Sometimes there's a little more on there than others. It just depends on the piece of meat that you get. I usually keep a little bag right here for my stash that I'm going to be throwing away. And in this little crevice, you'll see some silver that you have to get out of there. You do not want that on your fillet, because people will not be able to eat this. Believe me, this is tough. They always told me when I was started to do this that 2 elephants couldn't pull it apart. And sometimes I believe that, because it is tough. So once you get all your silver off, just look over your tenderloin again to see if there's any excess marble that you have to pull off, which I really don't see a lot. There's a little bit right here I didn't get. Like I said, you're going to want some marble for some flavor on your meat. So and that's what makes your beef really good, because you're taking off a lot of the fat off of this. It's not like a regular steak where they do have fat embedded into the meat. So once you get this all cleaned, it's nice looking, just like this. And now you can cut your tenderloins. So how I start mine is I do kind of square off the bottom a little bit, because there's a little bit of fat there. I try to square it off because we don't want that on there. So we take that, and then I start at the highest point, the thickest point, which is up here at the top, towards the end. What I'll do is to square it off a little bit, I will square it first. And that's going to go in my beef tip pile, tenderloin tip pile, which is right here. And then I can start cutting my fillets from there. I see a little bit of silver that I missed. Just want to make sure we get every bit of silver off. I guess it was just hiding there. Sometimes that happens. So, and I usually try to make my fillets about 8 ounces a piece, because when you grill them, you are going to have some shrinkage. But let's try to do it 8 ounces a piece. I usually have a good eye for what 8 ounces is. So I'm going to start mine right here, and I'm going to cut it just like this. In there you have an 8-ounce tenderloin. And I keep on going as I go. So I'm going to do another one, but as you get thicker here, you're going to want to be careful you don't get them too thick. And there, another one. That's 2. Generally, you can get 8 to 9 out of a size like this. And when you're in the restaurant and this tenderloin costs about $100, you're going to want to make your money back 3 times. So whatever you're going to charge for this, you're going to get that back. So that's 4. That's 5. And they're nice size. That's 6. That's 7. That's 8. That is 9. And we have a little one here we can use. What I usually do to try to make a tenderloin out of this, is I just make sure there's not a lot of any of the fat on it. You can butterfly it. So how I butterfly mine is I take a little bit here, butterfly it here, then I butterfly it again, and I make a tenderloin steak out of it for a small piece of meat. And that's how you do clean a tenderloin. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fillets out of this tenderloin. So if you can do that, you're saving yourself probably $100 from just cleaning your own piece of meat. Now, as far as the tenderloin tips, I already have a few here already ready to cut. But let me move the meat so you can see. So let me move this aside. So these tenderloin tips, we're just going to take them and we're to cut them in, bite-sized type thing. But the strap itself has a lot of silver on it. So what you're going to want to do is, I usually take mine and cut it in half first. And as you can see, it's tough to cut that silver. But I usually try to cut it in half first, and I deal with half of it at a time. I pull off as much of the silver and fat as I can. I try to cut it off. And if then you can get it, you can pull it off or cut right down just like that and cut it off. And once you do that, then you can cut them into tenderloin tips, which are nice. You can make a stir fry with rice, you can with nice fresh vegetables, and they really make a nice dish. Or you can take them and slice them julienne style, and you can make a steak salad, summer steak salad for the summer, which are really nice. It doesn't have to be summer, I guess, but you can still make a steak salad. And just make sure you get most of this fat off. And that's what they usually look like. And this one was a nice tenderloin. It was pretty big. So we got quite a few fillets out of it. And now we're getting a nice yield as far as some tenderloin tips. So you're making a lot of meals out of this one piece of meat. half to go. It has quite a bit of fat on it. And what you could do is, if there's a lot of silver, you can just even try to push it off of the silver, the meat off of the silver, so it comes off, just like this. So the silver we can get off of there, because that is the toughest part of this piece of meat. It's the silver skin of the tenderloin. And once we get that off, your tenderloin is really nice and tender. That's why you call it tenderloin. So then when you call it, you can slice these up. And if you still have some more on there, you can try to just scrape it right off. So, because you don't want it in your frying pan or in your dish. There's a little bit here we can scrape off. And ladies and gentlemen, that is our segment on how to clean a tenderloin. And next, just keep tuning in, because next time we're going to be doing different things. Today was how to clean a tenderloin. We're going to have a soup segment. We're going to have a homemade soup segment on how to cook soups. Winter is coming. You're going to all want to know how to do that. It's very simple, very easy. We've got a number of soups we're going to show you. So please stay tuned, and thank you very much for watching.